So there's a lot of right-wing nationalist YouTubers out there that are mad about the left wing on quite a few things. And I always say if you call yourself left-wing or you call yourself right-wing, you're going to be wrong on half the issues every time. So here's the thing. If I was going to ask a right-wing YouTuber, is Adolf Hitler bad? Everybody would say yes, unanimously. Well, if Adolf Hitler had won Germany, had won the war, people would have erected statues to him, right? They would have printed money in his name, right? That's what would have happened. Well, they would have called him a hero. Well, George Washington, same thing. So here's the thing. Right-wing YouTubers are also saying they're mad about Ukraine President Zelensky being called a hero. They're saying he's no hero. They're mad about them having enough guts to fight Russia. A lot of YouTubers love, right-wing YouTubers love Russia. A lot of Republicans do. They're mad because they're losing money now because Russia can't pay them. They're not going to pay them. So here's the thing. If you say Zelensky's no hero, people should be calling him that because Zelensky, in your opinion, has done bad things. Or you have a low IQ and you can't differentiate the Nazis that are fighting over there, which there is a group apparently, but they're not part of the Ukraine army. The Ukrainians don't like them either. So if you can't differentiate that, but you're going to say he's no hero, but you're going to make a YouTube video about George Washington, about how to, trying to make fun of the left about George Washington, right? Well, George Washington, he killed a lot of black people. That's the bottom line. He was never big on black people, never counted them as human beings. But you're mad about the left because they want to take down some of the Southern statues too, right? Because you say it's part of your heritage, it's part of history. Well, those statues were not put up to be part of history. They were put up to monetize, to pay tribute to that person. Well, that person, seen by minorities, is their slave master. Now, I'm all about history. I love history, okay? But it doesn't mean I'm going to start putting posters of Southern Confederate generals all around. They shouldn't be up. I'm not trying to be mean, but Confederates lost a war, so why did they get to keep their statues? That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to hang the American flag next to the Confederate flag. Well, which one is it? Do you love American freedom and understand that unity? Or do you want to hang a Confederate flag up, claiming that's your way of life, which it really isn't? It's a slave master symbol. So you got to pick one. You can't be both. So your argument with Ukraine, but you're inconsistent when it comes to George Washington and some of the Southern generals later on in the Civil War. So should these statues stay up? No. Should they go in a museum? Yes. Should history be properly taught? Yes, definitely. But some of you YouTubers, you fall for your own agenda and you fall for your own way of thinking because it doesn't always apply. See, logic has to win the day, and some of you are not being logical at all, and some of you are being very dishonest what's going on in the world. A lot of you are mad at gas prices. Well, guess what? The whole world's paying for gas prices. That's not on Biden. I just read a story about how England is being affected. Some of their shelves are starting to run empty. Some of it has to do with the strike with the railroad. I just read some stories about Europe. Their food shelves are running empty in some places. It's just not America. Now, you guys want Trump back in charge because you guys want cheap gas prices, but you don't care if you fund what Russia's doing in a war. But you sit there and say, well, sacrifice and service, and I'm a veteran, and all this other stuff. But when you need to sacrifice something, you complain. You don't understand sacrifice because of your way of thinking. So you're going to blame Biden for the gas prices when, what do you want him to do? You want him just to let Russia run through and rape and kill everybody? Is that what you want to do? You want to be a baby killer just so you can put cheap gas in your car? Some of you, yeah. Some of you online literally said, yeah, you don't care about those babies. You don't care about those women. You don't care about the men being killed. You don't care. And that's the fundamental problem. You don't care. Biden's in a no-win situation with you Republicans. He's tough on Russia, and that makes you angry. But then you point to the southern border and you show some video, which I saw, same YouTubers. Oh, look, there's 100 people crossing the border. We should build a wall. Well, guess what? Under Trump, there's videos of them putting a wall up and 100 people crossing over the damn wall. That's your logic. It was happening under Trump. Then another thing is, a lot of these mothers that come over here with babies that had to suckle, needed mother's milk, in your minds, Trump was right and it said separate the kids, separate the kids. But now there's a baby milk shortage. You're like, well, just starve all the Mexican babies down there. Let's put Americans first. Well, some of them could have suckled the mother, but you Republicans separated the babies from them to begin with. This is the problem that you created. You think building a wall is going to stop them from coming over? The only way you're going to stop Mexicans from coming over is if you stabilize Mexico and get you Republicans and some of the other rich people to stop snorting cocaine. A lot of times they're coming over from cities that are ravaged, brutally beaten, some of the drug cartels, some of their way of life. They don't have one. They want to live. And what makes me funny is, if I was to trace every one of the YouTubers' ancestry back, you guys migrated over. But now that you're here, you're waving an ID saying, aha, we're here first. No, you weren't here first. Really, you weren't. I mean, it's such a shameful way of thinking. I don't understand you right-wings. Because you're not logical all the way through. And you don't have no compassion. And you don't care about nobody but yourself. So what if Biden lifts all the embargoes, lifts all the sanctions on Russia? Doesn't mean Europe will. Doesn't mean Asia will. Other people. For what? For you to get cheap gas? That's what you're complaining about? But you're going to wave a flag at the next rally and talk about, I'm a veteran. I served. I understand sacrifice. See, it was the same Republicans for years that said, I could survive an apocalypse. Some of you bragged, look at all the weapons and ammo I got. Look at all the MREs I've stored up. Look at all this food and water. 2 weeks into the pandemic, you guys are complaining about not having a haircut. Because you can't sacrifice. You don't know how. You think you have it bad. Try being on the Ukraine front line. You're trying to win your freedom from an ignorant dictator, Putin. This is what happens when countries do this stuff. But you don't know how to sacrifice, right? You don't want to sacrifice. You just want cheap gas. You want to keep your southern statues open and claim something that's not true. Then you get mad at the left wing because they want to take the statues down because they're saying that George Washington is not a good person and he wasn't. And you're so afraid that your white nationalism is no longer a safe structure to be founded on that you don't know how to act anymore. You're so afraid of change. A change that should have happened. George Washington wasn't a good person. If you're going to say that about Zelensky, two sides were wrong, you should say that about George Washington too. That's common sense. Most of you don't understand what America is, or you want America to just be this one idea that you're always going to be right about stuff, and the far left is always going to be wrong. And don't get me wrong, far left has done some stuff that's stupid too. That's why I say over and over again, don't say you're far left, don't say you're far right, just do the right thing in life. That's what you line yourself up with. But some of you YouTubers, you don't think. You post in videos, and you get all these likes, and you get all these people clapping, but when you look at their YouTube channels, and when you look at their profiles and stuff, a lot of them are low IQ. I'm not trying to be mean, but they are. White nationalism might get a lot of likes, but doesn't mean you gain any IQ points either, does it? So again, cut Biden some break when it comes to the war in Ukraine. Understand that sacrifices have to be made. You need to do your part as an American. You're supposed to understand that. Understand that the southern statues down there are not dedicated to history. They're dedicated to that individual who's done some tragic and terrible things that you're going to have to accept. Don't like it when people talk about racism in schools now because they want to do, change the way history was teaching. I don't like it. I like to be proper history, but you yourself won't be honest about history either. America is a nation of immigrants, founded by immigrants, on the backs of slaves taken from Native Americans. That's what America is. To say anything other than that, you're lying. You're not honest. But anyway, this is Joe's Corner. I expect you Republicans to start straightening your little butts up a little bit more. Stop being stupid.